Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Government Center. We're absolutely delighted that each and every one of you are here to watch your Macon-Bibb County Commission at work. We will start this meeting, which is both a regular commission meeting for August the 15th, 2017, as well as a public hearing. One of the items on our agenda tonight concerns condemnation of a parcel of property on Wise Avenue. I understand that it is a friendly condemnation and that the owner basically has title issues and title problems that are best resolved. Still, you have to have a public hearing anytime there is a condemnation by a government of private property. So if any of you are here and want to talk to us about the Wise Avenue condemnation, you will be asked to do that at the very first when we have comments on agenda items. But we'll start our agenda tonight, as we always do, with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Our invocation tonight will be given to us by Imam Adam Fofana of the Islamic Center, and then our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by three of our GCAPS students who are here with us. So would you please stand as you are able for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Please join me in prayer. O Lord, the Lord of mercy, compassion, we stand here in this evening, humble with faith in you. As always, we have asked you to bless our nation, and indeed, you have blessed America. We ask you to make us a shining city on top of the hill, and you make us the shining city of our time. O Lord, the Lord of guidance, we ask you your guidance, your compassion for these men and women as they navigate through the issues and policies that strengthen our city, the great city of Macon, our state, the state of Georgia, and our nation, to make us people who aim always for success, and indeed, you are the one who grants success. O Lord, you have always referred to yourself as unity, as one. And from that, we drive our notion that we will be always one nation under God, under your guidance. Please, God, keep us united. Strengthen our unity in our diversity at this difficult time when our nation is facing threat of knock from foreign countries. When internal, we are not doing so good. At this very divisible time, we ask you to strengthen our unity in our diversity. O Lord, the most powerful, it is you who grant the power. And indeed, you give us, you make us powerful. Grant us the wisdom to use that power in the way that benefit our nation and humanity at large. O Lord, we are weak and you are strong, and we are short, but you are complete. Please forgive our shortcoming and guide us always to make decisions and policies that will uplift all our citizens, our nation, and our country. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated.
Need to note the amendment to the agenda.
Imam Fofana, thank you again for that very kind prayer. We appreciate that. And to our GCAP students, we say thank you for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. GCAPS stands for Georgia Civic Awareness Program for Students. And we had approximately 30 students from, I think, every high school in Bibb County participated this past year. And they had a wonderful series of programs to learn more about local government and what's going on. The three GCAP students that were here with us tonight were Grant Alexander and Eleanor Anderson and Rush Patel. And if you would stand as I call your name and read a little bit about you, that would be great. Grant Alexander is a senior at Howard High School. You a senior this year? Hot dog. Senior at Howard High School, where he has held the highest grade average in English and language arts for 2 consecutive years. Been on the honor roll for all his life and has been nominated for the Governor's Honors Program. He's a member of Student Council, FBLA, mock trial, the AP Club, a section leader for the Marching Huskies, and team Robo-Bibb. Additionally, he volunteers at Goodwill and Evergreen Baptist Church. Grant believes, quote, civic education is one of the most critical but underappreciated topics being discussed or taught among young people. Young people are the future, and civic education provides the framework of how a society of citizens should cooperate and work together to further themselves and their community, unquote. In addition to representing Macon-Bibb County in AIS, Grant spent much of the summer in the Georgia Governor's Honors Program, which is a residential summer program for gifted and talented high school students. Grant, thank you for being here. And next, Eleanor Anderson. Eleanor is a junior at Mount DeSales Academy. Eleanor is on the excellence list and a member of the National Beta Club, Key Club, Mock Trial, and the Environmental Council. She believes that, quote, it is crucial for young people to learn and know about government so that when they become adults, they will be actively involved. When people learn about the government, they tend to realize how much work actually goes into fulfilling all governmental duties, leading them to have pride in their local government and community, unquote. Notably, Eleanor was selected from a competitive application process to represent Macon-Bibb County and the nation on the 2017-2018 Keep America Beautiful National Youth Advisory Council. In addition to representing Macon-Bibb County and AIS, she traveled to Nara and Kurobe, Japan this summer as part of the 2017 Japan-America Grassroots Summit. Eleanor, thank you for being here. And finally, Rush Patel. Rush Patel is an upcoming junior at Stratford Academy, where he is the captain of the debate team and has been ranked in the top 100 in the nation. Rush is a member of the Model United Nations team, which takes policy making to tournaments on the international level. He believes that he has a strong voice and that he is able to get things done in an organized, structured fashion. He has a passion to be a leader because his generation will be the leaders soon. We celebrate him also as being appointed to the National League of Cities Advisory Board representing the youth perspective across the nation. Earlier this year, he delivered the opening address to the 3,000-plus delegates at the NLC Congressional City Conference in Washington, D.C., and also traveled to Nara and Kurobe, Japan this summer as part of the 2017 Japan-America Grassroots Summit. Rush, thank you. And when we hear so many negative comments about the youth of today and we kind of get discouraged, it's refreshing and wonderful to have these three students and the rest of our GCAP students take part in the process this past year, and we hope you have a great year upcoming. So thank you very much. Y'all join me in a round of applause for our GCAP students. Next item on our agenda is Judge reminded me, we have one addition to the agenda. At the pre-commission meeting, they voted to add an additional item that will be at the very bottom of the agenda. It'll be item U. which concerns basically a repeal of the annual garbage collection tax that was passed earlier this year. That'll be item U, the last item on the agenda tonight. Oh, and I'm being advised, I got a bug in my ear now, that we need a motion to amend the agenda to add that item. Commissioner Jones?
The floor amendment, the ordinance that removes the garbage fee from the annual property tax bill.
And Commissioner Lucas, second? Okay, we had a motion and second. I think there were 5 people that voted to add this to the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, so it's added to the agenda tonight, and it will be item U coming up later. That brings us to item 4 on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. The minutes of our pre-commission meeting held August the 1st and the regular commission meeting held August the 1st have been previously prepared and distributed. Are there any changes or corrections that need to be made? If not, can I get a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Schlesinger. Second by Commissioner Bechtel to approve the minutes as written. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and those minutes of both the pre-commission meeting and the regular commission meeting are approved. Next, we have several invited guests tonight that took part in that. When I said AIS, I should have said Ambassadors in Sneakers program. And I'm going to ask Charles Coney if he would come up and tell us a little bit more about AIS and introduce our distinguished guest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. We stand before you tonight as a part of a transatlantic student exchange. A young lady in Germany, in Tübingen, Germany, had the idea that the exchange, the conversations, the learning, and the perspectives need to happen at a young level, at a high school level. And so Ulrike Krohn wrote a grant to her federal government of Germany and got the success of the United States and others so that 24 students, 12 Americans and 12 Germans, would be exchanged over a 4-week period. 1 week in Atlanta, Georgia, the home of the civil rights movement, in New York City, in Tübingen, Germany, and finally in Berlin, Germany. We, Macon-Bibb County, was so fortunate inside of this competitive application process, 3 of our students were chosen to represent the United States in this cultural exchange. And so tonight we have prepared for you a copy of the official report so that it may be part of the record. It includes for you a written account with pictorials and the focus of human rights and their perspectives and what they have learned over this exchange relative to that. You will also find in there a pamphlet from the Berlin Wall. You will also find in there a document, a book on the federal government of Germany, because our learnings are not just limited to local government. We have done national, and I'm pleased to say that we will host it at the federal parliament in Berlin. So now this youth leadership program has expanded itself and now includes perspectives on international government. The young people want to speak directly to you tonight, and so I will pause and allow them.
This program really gave me a greater understanding of what exactly human rights are and that everyone, no matter what, is inherently entitled to these rights.
First, I would like to thank all the commissioners for your support. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. While I was over in Germany, I saw the crucial and the vital role of the citizens learning about their history and learning from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Through this program, I was able to become an avid activist for human rights, and some of my peers from Germany and a few of my peers from the United States are working on a letter to the United Nations regarding fair trade in their shops, and so we have already started taking actions regarding human rights.
The work and the partnership includes several entities. We have tonight the executive director and the newly first day on the job deputy director of the Guth Zenstrom in Atlanta, Georgia, who came down to let you see how much they appreciate this local government allowing its young people to serve. So Miriam and John, if you would stand. We also have other ambassadors. I mentioned that they were a part of 12 from the Americas. And so from the city of Douglas County, Douglasville, we have Grant Washington. We have Omar Roberts from the city of Marietta. We have Hallie Collins, who's coming to us from the Atlanta Metro as a part of the State Superintendent's Student Council. And finally, we have Kamisha coming to us from Dublin, our partner down the road. If there are any others who have come out to celebrate and to honor the work that these young people have done, if you would stand so that we can all thank you at one time. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. We appreciate all that you've done for us.
Well, Charles, thank you. I appreciate your leadership, and to all of the participants and the ambassadors and sneakers programs and the leadership, thank you very much for what you're doing. It's a very vital part that you're playing in developing the future leaders of our local and national government. So thank you very much. No other invited guests, but we're glad to welcome all of you here tonight, and hope that you'll come back often. The next item on our agenda are comments on public comments on agenda items. That is, items that are on the agenda for us to take action on tonight, and this is an opportunity for you to talk to us before we vote. Other comments on non-agenda items will be reserved until a time later on the agenda. First to sign up to talk to us tonight is Martin Bell. Martin, there you are. Martin, come forward, please, to the podium. You're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Rickard. My name is Martin Bell. I live at 168 Hines Terrace in Macon, and I'm here to support a bill by Commissioner Mallory Jones. He'll, of course, explain the bill later, but we don't think it's right to have this garbage tax bill attached to our property taxes. And personally, I don't think the bill goes far enough. As I understand it, people that own apartments and empty houses are going to be charged a garbage tax for a service we don't even receive. Now, understand it covers uninhabitable buildings, but it does not cover habitable buildings. So how many of you have ever bought a car and made monthly payments and had the dealership tell you, you can't have the car? You didn't get a service. Now, years ago, the Macon Water Authority instituted an empty apartment tax, and they wouldn't get rid of it. So what I did is I went to the Capitol and I spoke to the local legislative delegation, and they told them if they didn't get rid of it, they'd get rid of it for them, and you don't have that tax anymore. And you also remember when you used to always get a late fee about the time you got your bill? That was me that got rid of that too through the legislature. In the past, I was president of the Bibb County Taxpayers Alliance. We sued the Bibb County tax assessors twice and won. And as a military historian, I think of the words by Japanese Admiral Yamamoto. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, he said, "I am afraid I have awakened a sleeping giant." Well, the taxpayers are awake. We're awake now. And we're coming forward to fight the property tax and this garbage tax. It's just not right. Now, there's a lot of you up here that I've known for years. I respect you. We're friends. And there were some excellent comments made in the committee meeting. And I know some of you care about people. I know that. And we heard about provisions for indigent people. But if this keeps going like it is, you're kicking the middle class in the teeth. The economy's terrible right now. If anybody wants to raise their hand and say we've got a great economy and these people are rolling in money, I want to see your hand. But we don't. We just can't afford this $3 million property tax increase in Bibb County. And I know in the meeting, Commissioner Mallory Jones presented some statistics from other cities. And he showed what's happening here in Bibb County. Let's listen to him. We want Bibb County to grow. And I know you do too, at least most of you. So that's why I'm here. I want to work with you. I want to sit down with you and get some feedback. But our people in Bibb County need your help. We don't need to be attacked with these new taxes. And especially to be taxed on a service we don't even get. I don't understand that. I just don't agree with it. But I'm here. We're awake now. We're going to contact our list. We've got hundreds of names on it in this Taxpayer Alliance we had before. And I can't say I'm sorry I didn't get with you back in March, April, and May. I had other things to do, and I frankly didn't know all this was going on. But I'm here now. So I know you're good people. I know y'all mean well. And all I can say is we're against this property tax increase. Please support Commissioner Jones' ordinance today. And let's just sit down and talk about some of these other issues. But we don't want to be taxed for a service we're not getting either. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bell. I appreciate your comments. Appreciate you being here. Next, Lola Williams. Thank you for being here, Ms. Williams. You're recognized for 5 minutes, and when you get to the podium, if you'll adjust that microphone and speak right into it, we'll be able to hear you better.
Okay. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Lola Williams.
Pull that microphone down. Just there you go. That and just talk right into it, please, ma'am.
My husband is Robert K. Williams, and he's not here with me today. But I wish he were here to speak. I want to tell you that I'm not happy with the proposed 3 mil tax rate increase. And that's one of the things I'll talk about a little bit more. But I want to tell you where I live and a little bit about myself and my family. I'm retired from Robbins Air Force Base from 32 years there. I worked in the Electronic Warfare Division that we manage the radar that detects enemy radar to keep our country safe. So I enjoyed being a part of those 32 years. And today I am here to speak to you about the tax increase, but I'm also here to tell you about my neighborhood, because I think that you'll understand more our feelings if you know more about my neighborhood that I live in. So my husband and I worked hard in our early life. We've raised 3 children. They've done very well in life. I have grandchildren that have done very well, and I'm happy to say that. But we worked really hard, and we paid for our home. We later moved out to Lake Tubasawke. We live on our property borders the water. So I wanted you to know a little bit about that, because we retired, and our income is, not what it used to be. And we have had some hardships, like most families. My husband's in poor health. And we have to deal with high medical bills on top of that. But today, I want to tell you that from all the neighbors in our neighborhood association, and that's Beaver Oaks subdivision, and we have no rich and no famous people living in our neighborhood. We are just the ordinary people living there. And most of them have worked hard and still are working hard, those that haven't retired. So, but here, I want to tell you about the origin, the beginning, and the development of our neighborhood. That happened in 1977. We are now 40 years old. So our neighborhood's not like the new neighborhoods you see around town, but it's a wonderful neighborhood. It's a great place that, we had to raise our children. But I do know that the homes, are constantly having to be repaired. In March the 14th of 2016, we had an electrical fire in our house, and our house burned to the ground. Everything we'd ever worked for, we didn't even have a toothbrush. We didn't even have a hairbrush. I was asleep. It was 6 o'clock in the morning, and my husband was up earlier. He had gone out the door to see about his dogs and did not know the house was on fire. A recycle truck came into the neighborhood, saw the flames at 6 o'clock in the morning, came around to where we are. He beat on the house. He even broke window. He pulled me out of the bed asleep, overcome by smoke, and got me out of the window and actually saved my life. So I called him my guardian angel to this day. But I would not be here today to speak if it wasn't for, public services that we have in our neighborhood. So I'm thankful for, them picking up plastic goods. I'm thankful for the garbage. I'm thankful for my home. And I'm thankful that we do have taxes to protect our city and our government and our neighborhoods. So that's a little bit about who I where I live. So, but I can tell you, being retired from Robins Air Force Base after 32 years, I left with a good retirement program. And I thought that this was going to, carry me for the rest of my life. But it just keeps getting chomped away. Every time I turn around, it's something else. And it's a lot of it is taxes. We rebuilt our home. I started in 2014. We worked on it in 2015. We worked on it in 2016. Alan Parker with State Farm was our agent. We were able to build the house back exactly to the same floor plan of the one that burned. So we feel at home because we're like back in our home that's just newer. Well, but the thing is, the county really quick like, and everybody in insurance companies, everybody's out looking at it, sometimes 2 and 3 times to assess the value in our home. And I don't mind telling you people here today, our value was around $280,000. We built the house for $150,000 ourselves. And so there was a lot of love in that house. But they came out, they reappraised our home. The insurance company did the same. Everybody's looking at it. And I'm telling you, it took a big bite out of my retirement. And already struggling with medical bills for my husband. So it's been tough. But getting back to the people that live in my neighborhood that are going to struggle and have hard times, like the times that we went through to get where we are today. I have a neighbor on one side that's 90-something years old. And she lives on a very, very limited income. She could never, ever add three meal rates to taxes to her already taxed property. On the other side of me is a couple that had the maintenance contract with Robins Air Force Base
Ms.
for
Williams.
about 17 years, and now they've lost their jobs. They lost their contracts, so they're struggling.
Ms. Williams, your time is up. You take another minute or so and finish up for us, please, ma'am.
And we have a lot of seniors in our neighborhood that are struggling the same way that these people are. And so I'm asking these commissioners today to please not give us a proposed 3-meal tax rate added to our taxes we already have. And that's a plea from the people in our neighborhood because it's predominantly seniors. Some are widows, some are widowers. Some have lost their husbands, some have lost their wives. Their incomes have been cut in half. But we have people now looking for properties outside of Bibb County to move out of our neighborhood. And I think that's really sad. But thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. We appreciate your patience and appreciate your comments and appreciate you being here. Next, Mr. Glenn Ashmore. Thank you for being here. Mr. Ashmore, you're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Well, I can understand the problem you've got as far as the millage rate is concerned, trying to maintain a budget on a tax base that seems to be shrinking. But the garbage fee on top of it on an annual basis causes a strange thing to happen. I got my little spreadsheet out, and I was going to try to get this enlarged, but it's as big as I could do. What this is taking the average price value of a home right now in Macon and Bibb County, according to Zillow and several other statistical places, of $130,000. The tax bill, the combination of tax bill and the garbage bill is going to go up $456, or about 50% of what last year's bill was. The median, that's the number of houses, the place where the value of the number of houses higher than that is equal to the number below it, is about $75,000. Those people are going to see an 89% increase in the total value of that tax bill that comes in. But then the houses in Unionville, Fort Hill, South Macon, and so forth are averaging below $50,000. And they're going to see a tax increase, a bill increase. We don't call that tax increase. It's going to be a number on a piece of paper that comes from the county that says you owe this. And it's going to be 120 to 225% higher than it was last year. Now, we got a number of people here more than we did last week, but obviously there's a whole bunch of folks here in this county that are not paying attention. That's one of the problems we had with democracy in this country right now, is that too many people don't pay attention. But the one place they do pay attention is when the tax bill comes in. And they're going to see this. They don't pay attention, but they're not stupid. So as Mr. Bell said, Mr. Yamamoto, although it was actually a line from Tora Tora Tora, he didn't actually say it, you're going to have you're going to have that sleeping giant is going to be on the phone to you about the middle of October. Be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ashmore. We appreciate your comments, appreciate you being here. Lindsay Holliday, Dr. Holliday, thank you for being here. You're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to discuss or illustrate the corrupting properties of privatized garbage. Suppose this is our garbage truck here. This is my house. And here's the government. Government pays the garbage truck to come pick up my garbage. It's a lot of hassle because we're complaining to y'all about missed pickups and this, that, and the other. So y'all farm this out to a private company. And I think it's really more accurate. Let me just put down a dollar bill here. Now, the services we were paying y'all to give us, there's a middleman in there. That middleman is taking home a profit. That profit came out of my pocket. It's making your job easier because you're no longer hearing as much. If somebody comes to complains to you, they're not picking up my garbage, you say, well, go call up ADS. They're in charge of the garbage now. We're not. So it's easier on y'all. It's harder on us. ADS, I want you to go home and Google privatized garbage. Privatized garbage corruption. What happens is, this is lucrative. And they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to lose this dollar bill. All they got to do is convince 10 people to keep the contract going. This happens over and over again in America, over and over and over again. It winds up that they are big supporters of our commissioners. They can do it over the table, legally, but there's no tax incentive to do that. It's not, I can't write off my tax. If I'm contributing to my friends up here on council, which I do, I can't write it off on taxes, so it's coming out of my pocket. There's no need to do it above the table. That's why when you Google privatized garbage corruption, you will find hit after hit after hit all over this country. This is a corrupting force to put a privatized industry between a necessary service and the citizens. There are things that you can privatize that are not corrupting. These are non-repeating things. Like if you want to build a road that's going to be a single contract and then it's over, that's not corrupting. They can still, they're still going to want to contribute and get the next road contract. But garbage is every week, every month, every year. It is a sure thing. And if you can insert yourself in that money stream, it is worth it. And it happens over and over and over again in our country. The thing to do, any critical service like public health, sanitation, there should be nobody in between the government and the citizen. Nobody. This is not something that you can farm out, gentlemen and ladies. This is your job when you want to be a commissioner, public safety, and public sanitation. Those are things you don't farm out. You don't farm out law control, law enforcement. You don't farm out sewerage and garbage cleanup. It's got to be a government straight to the person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Holliday. Appreciate you being here and appreciate your comments. Next, Mr. Darren Latch. Mr. Latch, are you here with us tonight? Darren Latch. He may have left. Beverly Nagel. Beverly, are you still here? There they are. Thank you for being here. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
I've heard a lot of discussions over the last few weeks in the pre-council meetings and finance and budget meeting. Thank you for allowing the citizens to come and listen to those quietly, and also have spoken. I think there's been excellent arguments by several of the commissioners in support of Mr. Jones's measure, and I sure hope that tonight that you will vote for that repeal to take it off of the property taxes and to give the uninhabitable house exception. I agree with Martin, it should be on vacancies, but definitely on an uninhabitable house. I don't think it's possible to fairly administer the exception, though, unless you're willing to give a refund, okay? And so, for example, it's October, and I pay, let's just say that we go with the one that's just the exception for the uninhabited house. I still have to come up with, for my little tiny 10 properties, $3,600 more than I would normally have come up with, because I would have spread it out over the year to match my income that comes in on those properties. I don't have extra money sitting around just to pay ahead for all that. So the spreading of it out is a good thing, but most importantly, it also gives me an opportunity to say, hey, when you give me this exception, I'm not going to pay you the bill going forward. But if you've already charged me in October and the house was torn up in December, I've already paid you in advance for the following year. So I don't know that you're going to refund my money. So I'm out for at least that year, and I would hope in that year maybe I could get it renovated again, even though it's going to cost me $5,000 to $10,000 from the vandals, just trying to put the wiring back or things like that. So I would ask that you please consider going back to quarterly instead of annual. I think there's an awful lot of people who are not going to be able to handle that. The intention, as has been said in these meetings, was to increase collections, but I think you're going to create more cases where you can't collect because you're trying to bill it all at one time. And it isn't going to just be the people who've been not paying it now, which is about 20% that you need to collect from anyway. Now you're penalizing people who have been paying their bills, and they're not going to be able to pay it all at once, and you're going to come after them too. I just don't think that's right. So I appreciate your vote in support of Commissioner Jones's ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nagel. We appreciate your comments and appreciate you being here. Sandy Davis?
Just want to thank you all for your service. This is often a thankless job, and want to take a minute to say thank you for what you do. We appreciate it. We are, our association, I represent the Middle Georgia Association of Realtors, and we are in support of Commissioner Jones's amendment to remove the garbage fee from the tax bill. It is punitive. There are people who are paying it that are going to be penalized. And as Beverly said, these people can't afford it. You know, I've listened to the meetings and heard what you said, and I know you're trying to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, and we appreciate that. But you forget the very property owner and the taxpayer that's being impacted. If they can't pay it, they can't pay it. I know that there's a method for those that are unable to pay. You know, there's people out there who have no way of even getting to this down here to even file the paperwork. There's people who don't even know how to do it. They're paying that bill every quarter like they always have. They don't have the money to do this all at one time. It's just too much. And then you're going to raise their tax bills 3 mills. It's just not right. You know, it's going to affect escrow accounts. It'll go up, as we've talked about in the meetings. Escrow accounts will be impacted. First-time home buyers, you could actually price them out of a mortgage. There is, you know, are you going to do refunds if someone walks out of a house, or I mean, how's that going to be handled if it's collected and the house becomes vacant or gone? There's no trash service. I mean, all those things need to be addressed and thought about. We just are concerned. We're concerned about the property owner. We're concerned about the multiple house owner who's going to, like, you know, Virgil was talking about, Commissioner Watkins was talking about, you having to come up with that money right at the beginning. You know, you're talking, if you have multiple homes, 10, 15, that's $3,000 for homeowners or small business owners. It's just too difficult for them. We just feel that you really should give serious consideration to Commissioner Jones's ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Appreciate you being here and appreciate your comments. And finally, Mr. Wayne McIntyre. Mr. McIntyre, well, welcome. You recognize 5 minutes, sir.
Well, I'm Wayne McIntyre. I moved here 7.5 years ago from Virginia. I came down here to retire, watch my grandchildren grow up. And one reason I came here was because of the cost of living. And homes were cheaper and things like that. But I'm like anybody else. I'm in a fixed income. And, you know, it's like the lady before me said, every time you turn around, there's somebody trying to get more and more money. And, you know, we did the best we could on getting our retirement income, but this is, I mean, I'm opposed to this garbage tax, and quarterly is fine, but annually, that's a lot. That's a big chunk out of a retirement income. And the other thing is that I'm also a realtor here, and you're talking about increasing property taxes and this garbage tax. I have a terrible time when I get people calling to live or want new homes. I'd say 1/3 of them want to live in Monroe County because of the taxes. And here we are. We're going to increase the taxes and make this garbage deal. And now it's going to be 50% of the people are going to say, I want Monroe County. I don't want to live in Macon-Bibb. We want people here. We want to sell our homes. And that's about all I had to say.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. We appreciate you being here and appreciate your comments. That's the end of the public comments on agenda items. That takes us then to reports from our standing committees. The first is Operations and Finance, and that report will be given by Vice Chairman Lucas. Vice Chairman Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and fellow commissioners and citizens.
Wait a minute. Excuse me. I missed one item on the agenda. Is there anybody here that wanted to talk to us about the condemnation, the eminent domain condemnation on Wise Avenue? Was there anybody here that wanted to talk to us about that? Good. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I overlooked that. Vice Chairman Lucas, please excuse my interruption. Go right ahead, please, ma'am, with your report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow commissioners, and those citizens who are here, and those listening at home. Our chair, Gary Bechtel, last meeting decided he was going to go on vacation golfing and left us here to take care. I'm kidding, y'all. But he did go away. And in his absence, although we would like to have been where he was, we did carry on the business of the Operations and Finance Committee. And we'd like to offer this report from the Operations and Finance Committee. The Operations and Finance Committee met on August 8th, 2017, and took the following actions. The committee approved the following agreements and contracts: an agreement with Waters and Sons Construction for repair work on the storm drainage ditch located on Bartlett Street for $62,045 to be paid from Blight Bond funds for Commission District 5, Bivens. An agreement with City Vision Associates for the performance of professional consulting services related to the development of a downtown development sequencing strategy in the amount of $64,000. A lease agreement with Quantum Wireless for providing commercial wireless services at the Macon Coliseum. The committee approved the following projects to be paid from the 2012 SPLOST: an agreement with Mead and Hunt for professional engineering consultant services to evaluate replacing the gate hoist system at the Finley Ryther Dam in the amount of $8,300. The appropriation of $494,626 for funding and completion of the new Lizella Recreation Capital Outlay Project. The committee approved the following projects to be paid from 2017 SPLOST bond proceeds: an architectural services contract for Freedom Park Boys Baseball Field with Travis Pruitt and Associates in the amount of $198,000. An architectural services contract for Dolores A. Brooks Park, formerly East Macon Park, with WMA Architects in the amount of $78,060. And a purchase and sale agreement with Ready Fitness for fitness equipment for Bloomfield Gilead Recreation Center in the amount of $53,905.04. The committee approved purchasing 3,120 garbage carts in the amount of $158,963.50 for Toter Inc. from Toter Inc. The committee approved the following changes to the Code of Ordinances, amending Section 22-21 and Section 22-24 of Division 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 22 to provide that developed residential or business premises designated as uninhabitable shall not be charged a fee for collection and disposal of solid waste. And also revising Section 17-51 of Article 2 of Chapter 17. And finally, the committee approved an appropriations transfer for pest control services from individual department budgets to a single countywide account in the amount of $69,010. And this concludes the report of a very busy Operations and Finance Committee.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Lucas. Next standing committee is Economic and Community Development Committee, and that report will be given tonight by Chairman Schlesinger. Chairman Schlesinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Economic and Community Development Committee met on August the 8th, 2017, and we made the following appointments: Seth M. Coker, Calnitra Purvis, and Gary Wilson to serve as members of the Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission, and Commissioner Virgil Watkins as a member of the Macon Arts Alliance Board. We also heard a report on the Complete Street Policy, and this concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairman Schlesinger, for that report. I understand no report from Public Safety Committee. So that then takes us to Facilities and Engineering Committee, and that report will be given to us by Chairman Tillman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Facility and Engineering Committee met on August 8, 2017. The committee approved an encroachment agreement with the property owners of 1107 Oglethorpe Street to allow for the installation of brick columns, fence, and boxwoods in the public right-of-way. The committee also approved the exercise of eminent domain to acquire in fee simple a portion of the property commonly known as 1439 Wise Avenue, located in Macon, Georgia. This completes the report of Facilities and Engineering Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Tillman. That brings us to the consent agenda, and there are no items on our consent agenda tonight, so that'll take us into old business. And the first item of old business are some appointments to the Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission. I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission appointing Seth Coker, Calendra Purvis, and Gary Wilson to serve as members of the Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission and for other lawful purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is an appointment to the Macon Arts Alliance, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to appoint Commissioner Virgil Watkins to the Macon Arts Alliance Board to replace Commissioner Al Tillman and for other purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Item C is an encroachment agreement for 1107 Oglethorpe Street, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an encroachment agreement with the property owners of 1107 Oglethorpe Street to allow for the installation of brick columns, fence, and boxwoods in the public right-of-way located thereto and for other lawful purposes.
The Facilities and Engineering Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Next is an item to exercise eminent domain to acquire the property at 1439 Wise Avenue, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to approve the exercise of eminent domain to acquire in fee simple a portion of the property commonly known as 1439 Wise Avenue, located in Macon-Bibb County, Georgia, and for other purposes.
The Facilities and Engineering Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is a contract with Waters & Son for some repair work on storm drains, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Waters & Sons Construction, Inc. in the amount of $62,045 for repair work on the storm drainage ditch located on Bartlett Street to be paid from Blight Bond funds from Macon-Bibb County Commission District 5 and other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next, item F is a resolution to accept a grant agreement with City Vision Associates, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with City Visions Associates in the amount of $64,000 for the performance of professional consulting services related to the development of a downtown development
Sequence.
Thank you. Strategy and for other purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is item G, which is a lease agreement, site lease agreement to provide for wireless services at the Coliseum. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution to approve a DAS site lease agreement with Quantum Wireless, LLC, for purposes of providing commercial wireless services at the Macon Coliseum and for other purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is item H, which concerns repairs to the dam at Lake Tobesofkee using 2012 SPLOST funds, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Mead and Hunt, Inc. for professional engineering consultant services to evaluate alternatives for replacing the gate hoist system at the Finley Rather Dam in the amount of $8,300 to be paid from 2012 SPLOST funds and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. That takes us to item I, which is an ordinance to use proceeds from the 2011 SPLOST fund for improvements to recreation in the Lizella area. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission approving and authorizing the appropriation of $494,626 from the proceeds of the 2012 sales tax to provide for the funding and completion of the new Lizella Recreation Capital Outlay Project as approved by the voters of Macon-Bibb County in the 2011 SPLOST referendum and for other purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the ordinance is adopted. Next is a resolution about some additional work at Freedom Park, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to approve an architectural services contract for Freedom Park Boys Baseball Field with Travis Pruitt and Associates, Inc. in the amount of $198,000 to be paid from the 2017 SPLOST bond proceeds and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is a resolution for architectural services at Dolores Brooks Park, formerly known as East Macon Park, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to approve an architectural services contract for Dolores A. Brooks Park, formerly known as East Macon Park, with WMA Architects Planners, Inc., doing business as WM2A Architects, in the amount of $78,060 to be paid from 2017 SPLOST bond proceeds and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Lucas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dolores A. Brooks Park, which is formerly the East Macon Park, has about 80 acres out there that still need to be developed. The initial appropriation was like $900,000, and we have found in many of the volunteers, the parents who've worked with the children in that area have found that there's a need for us to go back and show them what that $900,000 was spent for. They don't feel like the monies that much was spent out there. So I think we've got an obligation to show them what was planned, how much was spent, and then take a look at the second phase, which only carries with it another $900,000. That's just 1.8 for Dolores Brooks Park, where we have just approved, I think in the last couple of weeks, 2.6 or 2.8 for the first phase of Freedom Park. What I'd like to do is to make sure that we're being equitable in our appropriations, and I'd like to come, if we see that there's a need for additional work at Dolores A. Brooks Park, I will be coming back and asking my fellow commissioners if they will support some additional funding so that we can take care of the fields flood out there, and that was supposed to have been taken care of in the first phase. The restrooms back up, and they're right behind and in the same building with the concession stand. That is unacceptable. That was supposed to be done in the first phase. So what I'm asking you is just kind of keep that on your radar screen, and at the appropriate time that we get the information that there is more that should have been done, I'm going to come back and ask you on behalf of the residents who use that park and who have helped to develop it, and have moved from 100 children to over 300 children using that park during the seasons. I'm going to be asking you if you would look at some additional funding for Dolores A. Brooks Park.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is an item to purchase some fitness equipment for Bloomfield Gilead Recreation Center, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to approve and purchase and sell agreement with Ready Fitness, Inc. for fitness equipment for Bloomfield Gilead Recreation Center in the amount of $53,905.04 to be paid from the 2017 SPLOST bond proceeds and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is item M, which is the purchase of some additional garbage carts, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize and approve the purchase of 3,120 garbage carts for the Solid Waste Department in the amount of $158,963.50 from Toter, Inc. and for other purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is an ordinance to provide that garbage collection services fees for garbage collection services will be suspended if the premises are uninhabitable, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to amend Section 22-21 and Section 22-24 of Division 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 22 of the Code of Ordinances of Macon-Bibb County to provide that developed residential or business premises designated as uninhabitable shall not be charged a fee for the collection and disposal of solid waste, to provide an effective date, and to provide for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the ordinance is adopted. Next is an ordinance to set up Tobesofsky as a department, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to revise Section 17-51 of Article 3 of Chapter 17 of the Code of Ordinances of Macon-Bibb County, to provide an adoption and effective date, and to provide for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ordinance is adopted. Item P is an ordinance to make one payment of pest control services rather than paying for it by department, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission approving an appropriation transfer for pest control services from individual department budgets to general fund in the amount of $69,010 and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the ordinance is adopted. The next three resolutions are appointments of new directors for the Recreation Department, for the General Manager of Bowden Golf Course, and for Lake Tobesofsky. Is there a motion to vote on any one of those three separately, or can I vote on all three at the same time? Is there a motion to vote on any of them separately? Do it separately. Got a motion, so we'll just do the first one then. First one is to appoint a director of recreation, and I see Robert Walker here. Robert, will you stand up for us so we can identify you? Good. All right, and read the resolution, please.
Yes, sir. A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to appoint Robert Walker as the Director of Recreation and for other lawful purposes.
The Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Beckman?
No, I want to make sure they were recognized, and you've done so. Thank you.
Very good, okay. Is there further discussion? The appointment of Robert Walker as Director of Recreation. Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is approved. Robert Walker is appointed as Director, confirmed as Director of Recreation. Congratulations, Robert. We appreciate your service. Next is the appointment of the General Manager of Golf at Bowden Golf Course, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption. And Brandon, will you please stand? Thank you very much, sir.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission appointing Brandon Doles as the General Manager of Golf for the Bowden Golf Course and for other lawful purposes.
The Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is approved. Brandon Doles is General Manager of Golf at Bowden Golf Course. Congratulations, Brandon. Thank you for your service. Finally, a resolution to appoint a director at Lake Tobesofsky, and I'll ask Donnie Bracewell to stand. Thank you, Donnie, and the clerk to read by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission appointing Donald Bracewell as Lake Tobesofsky Director and for other lawful purposes.
The Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted, and Donald Bracewell is your Director of Lake Tobesofsky. Congratulations, Mr. Bracewell. We appreciate it. Thank you for your service, sir. Next is item T, which is a resolution to extend an agreement with Correct Health for health service at the Law Enforcement Center, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the agreement with Correct Health Bibb LLC in the amount of $88,161.80 to continue to provide mental and physical health services for inmates of Macon-Bibb County and the Bibb County Sheriff's Office from July 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2018, and for other lawful purposes.
The Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Finally, the item that we added, item U on the agenda, is the item to repeal annual billing of the garbage fee, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to amend certain provisions of Chapter 22 of the Code of Ordinances of Macon-Bibb County to provide that fees for solid waste collection and disposal shall not be billed on the property tax bills, to provide an effective date, and to provide for other lawful purposes.
The Committee of the Whole recommends approval by a 5-4 vote. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Jones.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On March the 7th, we passed that current ordinance that would go on top of the property tax bill. It's going to cause a major burden and hardship on many citizens who have paid off their mortgage perhaps 5 years ago. They're retired, they're on a fixed income. So now all of a sudden they've got to pay the property tax and then an additional $300 the first year for the garbage fee at the same time. They have a mortgage, they've got an escrow account, it's going to go up $50 a month, not $25. And if they're a small business owner who has, and we've got small business, and they actually do a good job in helping us with blight because they take houses and fix them up and they rent them out, and it helps the topography of this community. But let's just suppose they own 10 houses, and then when the tax bill comes due, they've got to pay all their property taxes, which they're used to doing, but now they've got to pay $3,000, 300 times 10, and there's no escrow account to help them out. So it's punitive, in my mind, to many of the citizens of our community. It does nothing to encourage people to remain in Macon-Bibb County. In fact, it discourages people from wanting to continue to be here and have a small business because of this. 15 counties out of 159 have passed, according to the tax commissioner, this kind of putting it on top of the property tax. Many of those, well, look at 4 of them, for instance, that are similar sizes to us. All 4 of these counties are growing leaps and bounds. Hall County growing 9.4% since the 2010 census. Household median income of $51,200. DeKalb County's grown 7%. Median household income $51,400. Gwinnett County has grown 12.6%. Median household income $60,300. Chatham County's grown 9%, $47,200 is the median income. Macon-Bibb County has had a decrease, according to the U.S. Census, 1.8%, or 3,000 people and counting. That's July of 2016. We cannot afford to continue to drive people away. This policy drives people away. It exacerbates the loss of population. We can't afford it. So we've got an 82% collection rate. That's a problem. There are better ways to solve that problem. We're punishing the 82% of the people who do it right, pay their bills as they can. And we're also preempting the budget process. They've budgeted to pay a bill. Most of our bills we pay monthly, so they've budgeted to pay the garbage bill quarterly. So now we're going to make them pay it all in one lump sum, and right at the same time they pay property taxes. So the end does not justify the means. The policy is not good. We're sending a strong signal to people. We don't really want you to live here because we're going to tax you on out to the next county. And all you got to look at is Monroe County, which grew over 20% according to the 2010 census. Houston County that grew 26.5%. Jones County grew over 20%. Even Little Baldwin County that lost a major industry grew 2.3%. And we're minus 1.8%. That's a disturbing trend. So that's the reason for the motion to remove the garbage fee from the property tax bill. And I hope some of my respected colleagues who didn't vote for it on the other side of the wall will rethink it, because it's punitive. So I call for the vote, and I call for a roll call vote, please, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. There are a couple of other folks that are waiting to speak. Commissioner Tillman was next. Commissioner Tillman?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Heard and listened to several folks. It's always fascinating to hear people just say how much of a hardship is going to affect them directly, as opposed to thinking and knowing that we also live in the community. We have parents, grandparents, aunts, nieces, and so forth. So these decisions, as stated, are not easy. I do agree with one of the speakers. I think we have to at some point go back, because advanced disposal was under the old county before we consolidated, and perhaps we need to look at possibly giving it back to Macon-Bibb Waste Management and or our Public Works, and maybe we need to remove that contract back, because I think we talked about it when we first got here, that we were going to give it a year and just see what the results would be. After talking to the tax commissioner, he said that he could save $120,000 on billing. And in government terms, that's some money, but it's not a whole lot of savings. Of course, we can probably put a down payment on new splash pad, or even improve our PA system, which is terrible. We have to keep flicking the AC on and off. So perhaps we could use that. But more interestingly enough, back in 2007, this garbage fee was given over to the tax assessors for collection. And as of this date, and even up to 2016 or 17, they've been collecting it at 90%. So now we're talking about, we're trying to improve it 10% because we want to now collect it once a year. The county has been doing quarterly billing before consolidation for 25 or 30 years. Hadn't been an issue. They've been doing quarterly billing. I always try and trust department heads on efficiency. And I think that's been the whole thing that everybody's been doing since we implemented this new consolidated government. Try and cut back and save and be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. And so that's why, and one of the reasons why I try to always give those department heads an opportunity to show us that this will work and otherwise will prove us wrong. I don't think it has been in place long enough to see what the outcome would be. We did pass this 5-6 months ago. The current sponsor was in favor, but come back 5 months and says now that I've had a change of heart. Well, I remember we begged that change of heart to go with us on Rosa Parks Square. The sheriff and I asked many folks to give us a chance on some other issues. And so it's always interesting to say, go with me on this, trust me on this, but then you won't do it on something else. So we got to just be consistent when we're asking your colleagues to reconsider something. And so for me, it's about trying to trust the department heads that's in place that says we need to do this and let's see if it could work. Now, based on the numbers so far that's been reconsidered, I don't think we have the votes to pass it again, just based on the consensus. But I did want to just share and explain the reasonings why. And so I think it's incumbent upon the tax assessors and our waste management person to go back, because if it has been working for 25, 30 years through the old county quarterly billing, and if since 2007 that it's been working collection at 90%, then maybe it needs to stay as it is as we try and rescind this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tillman. Commissioner Watkins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Each item, each issue on its merit, and sometimes that leads to interesting alliances when you're just thinking about an issue. Sometimes me and Commissioner Jones are opposed on one issue, and today we're able to see eye to eye on the issue. And I think it's lovely that we're able to do that sometimes when we just look at one issue and all of its merits. And with that, I really love to go through numbers, especially when we're talking about something that has a financial impact. And one of the biggest reasons for this proposal is to improve our collection rate. Now, my understanding of our solid waste department is that last year it received $10 million worth, just about $10 million worth of revenues from fees. And when everything was said and done, that department netted about $1.2 million from solid waste collection services. Now that $1.2 million went back into the recycling program and into the landfill management, which put the overall department at a loss, but solid waste collection itself netted us $1.2 million. Now, my understanding, and my numbers are fresh and some of us disagree, but my understanding is that we collect solid waste at about an 82% collection rate. And remembering that just the vast majority of our parcels have one trash can. One trash can, one parcel. So about 82%, give or take, of our parcels pay their garbage bill. Now, my understanding, one of the reasons that we jumped on this is because that we hear all the time that our tax collection rate is very close to 98%. What that's saying is that we needed to collect, or we billed out $122 million worth of tax bills to 69,000 parcels. Of that, 85% of those have paid us in full. So we have 10,000 roughly parcels who still owe between $1 to 100% of their tax bill, but I'm gonna call that an 85% collection rate. Now, again, so per parcel with our property taxes, we're collecting 85%. My understanding of trash is that we're at about 82%. There's a 3% gap, and that gap, if somehow we closed it through this method, is worth probably about $500,000. And I would question those 3% if we hammered down the numbers a little bit more. That's within a margin of error that just about the same people pay their trash bill as they pay their tax bill, and vice versa. So I'm really concerned about the logic behind improving our collections as we delve deeper into these numbers. And I support this bill, and I've been asking these type of questions for the last 5 months. I'm getting the numbers today as we're moving, and pretty much that was my hypothesis, and that's what I'm seeing. So I would urge the commission, let's vote for Mallory's bill today to leave it like we've been doing, and come up with other diverse ways to penalize or enforce our rules upon the 10 to 15% of people who are not paying their bills. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Watkins. No other speakers, but let me take the privilege of the chair, if I may, just a point or two that I wanted to make. Somebody says it's been working well, the quarterly collection. It has not been working well. We have shifted providers. We've asked the Water Authority to try to collect it. That was the abysmal rate. We've tried to ask the tax commissioner. He's done a good job, but still your collection rate is abysmal, and as a result, we've had to subsidize trash collection services out of the general fund to the tune of millions of dollars a year, and that's really has hurt us. So it doesn't go unnoticed to me that the alternative is to include your garbage as part of your tax bill. That was the original part. Just make it part of your tax bill, and if we did that, it would all come due at the first of the year, all in one lump sum. But we separated it out for the very reason that somebody pointed out here earlier. It really isn't fair, because if we make it part of the millage rate, then somebody in a more expensive house is going to pay a lot more for their garbage service than somebody in a poorer house. And it doesn't have anything to do with volume. Here, we're trying to equalize the burden of the service, and you can collect with one cart, or if there's an excess amount of one cart, put a second cart out there and collect for a second cart and the tipping fees associated with it. So some of the arguments that we're making here are cyclical and counterproductive. I think we need to make this change. I have been for the change since we passed it the first time. I think it's been pointed out to us, the inefficiency of quarterly billing, the time it takes to administer the receipts of quarterly billing and crediting it to the right account. And I think this would help us with the collection and help us to avoid subsidizing to the extent we are now the garbage collection. So I would urge you to vote against it. Commissioner Watkins, I see I've prompted a little bit of additional commentary.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And again, I want to warn the commission that change for the sake of change can lead to chaos. 85, 82, honestly, is not that bad of a collection rate. Yeah, it could be better, but the 85 is consistently paid. We need to create ways through collection methods, which exist in this world, debt collection services. I know it's a difficult thing, or a contract or something, but that exists, and we have chronic people who don't pay us our bills, and that's what debt collection service is for. To me, is a more moderate and metered approach versus changing a 10-year practice. And going back to the years of water collection services, when those services were so dismal, we switched over to the tax assessor
Commissioner.
6-7 years ago. And the claim then was that if you switch from the water authority to the tax assessor, that would bring us up above 95%. And that, for whatever reason, didn't work. And now we're moving the ball and saying, oh, the problem is something else. And when then this doesn't work, we move the ball again. And the problem is 15% of people are not paying us their tax bill or their trash bill. And changing to an annual or quarterly or even back to monthly or weekly is not going to change 15% of people. We have people who owe us $2,000 in trash bills. That takes many years to acquire. And we're not addressing that from a collections method until, for whatever reason, we don't do a great job of that. And even today, that is the root of the problem. And instead of actually hitting the bullseye on the problem of 15% of people who don't do it, we're circling around it. And I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Watkins. Commissioner Jones had asked for a roll call vote, but I have a couple of additional lights that have come on. Commissioner Bechtel, did you have a comment?
With this method that has been approved by 6-3 5 months ago, including Commissioner Jones, the sponsor of this bill. Excuse me, I have the floor. But we're not focusing on the interruption in service that is ongoing. And this, I believe, will improve service as we are addressing garbage for each parcel as opposed to an active household. That way, I think we'll do a better job with the interruption of service. Our neighborhoods could be cleaner, and I think this might address that problem. So I think we're addressing a number of issues but we seem to be focused on collection. So I want to make that point.
Thank you, Commissioner Bechtel. Commissioner Jones, I think you're going to wrap us up.
Mr. Chairman, the vote, the official record, it was a 5-3 vote. I voted for it before. I've said that publicly. I made a mistake. I would hope everybody on this commission would be willing to have an open mind and rethink issues that come before us. That's what I've done. I voted for it. I made a mistake. There was one commissioner who was not there, and he's here tonight. But it passed 5-3. I've rethought it for many months. I've listened to the citizenry. I've listened to constituents. I am convinced this will be a burden and a hardship on many, many citizens, especially those senior citizens who may have paid off their mortgage 5 or 6 years ago. They've worked for 30 or 35 years, and they're now on a fixed income like so many are. And now you're going to hit them over the head with the garbage bill due at the same time as the property tax bill. Many of those people will not be able to pay the bill. And don't tell me the tax commissioner is going to work with them, because he's not going to work with them to that extent. That's a false promise. So when you couple in conjunction with a 3 mil tax increase, and now you're going to have to pay for your garbage fee all at one time, it's punitive. It sends a strong signal that we don't care about the citizens, and we do. I know everybody on this chamber does. I know the mayor does. And we can respectfully disagree. But this is bad policy, thus the ordinance I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jones asked for a roll call vote, so I'll start with Commission District 1, Commissioner Bechtel.
No.
Votes no. Commissioner Schlesinger. Votes no. Commissioner Lucas.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Jones. Votes yes. Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Bivens. Votes yes. Commissioner Allen. Votes yes. Commissioner Shepard.
No.
Votes no. Commissioner Watkins. Votes yes. Commissioner Tillman.
No.
Votes no. So you have 5-4 yes votes, so the resolution is adopted tonight. There is no new business that is ready for us to refer at this point in time, but I would urge you to check your agenda toward the end of the week. The agenda comes out on Friday, and I'm being told I do have some comments here, and I'm fixing to get to that momentarily. So check the agenda on Friday to see what the attorney's office brings down to be referred to committee. Committees meet next Tuesday, a week from today, beginning at 9 o'clock in the morning in the committee meeting room. So check the agenda that'll come out on Friday. That'll tell you what we'll be looking at on the following Tuesday. That brings us now to public comments on non-agenda items, and we have several people that want to talk to us now about non-agenda items. First being Louis Hargrove. Mr. Hargrove, thank you for being here. We appreciate it, and you're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
You like me to put me to sleep, man?
You ain't got up.
Oh, yeah, well, anyway, it's going to be tough either way it go when you're talking about more taxes on anybody. People just don't have the money that people think they have, but that's not the reason I'm up here about taxing, you know. I represent the poor, economic disadvantage in myself. When I say that, I still believe in nonviolence. And we have a lot of violence out there in the streets. But I appreciate the people coming out last night. Suppose, I think it was Charlottesville, Virginia. And that young lady lost her life up there. We're just trying to be out among the crowd and being for the righteous. Also, the guy over there in Bloomfield lost his life over there on John Kennedy Drive. And young man down there in Wanna lost his life. Every time I come down here, I like to say, let's have a moment of silence for them people that lost their life within the month to violence or whatever. Thank you. You know, like I say all the time, I believe in nonviolence. And if you've never been involved in violence or had a family member had a tragedy in their life, you don't know what the families be going through. You don't gonna know. Somebody going to jail, somebody going on the ground. And that's tough either way you look at it. It's tough. Nobody wins. Nobody wins. But Macon-Bibb County got to start doing something. Because we divided here in Macon-Bibb County. Y'all in denial when you say we're not. We are. And the majority of the people know that we're divided, real divided, among different races of people. But man, I can tell you something. If you cut me, I cut you, what color that blood gonna be? One color. So that's the reason we got to unite and work together and try to help each other. No matter what, if it's black on black, black on white, white on brown, police on black, white, whatever, human race, human lose their life. We got to come out. We got to come out and support each other regardless. It's just like it should be more people down here standing up for the garbage. But I think y'all are well represented. But people going to do what they're going to do. And the government, you know they're going to do what they're going to do. That's when you have to register to vote. Get people out that not working for you, not doing what you want them to do. Just like the Congress and our representative. Just like a representative having a meeting somewhere else tonight. And y'all know about this tax. It's very important. But where he at? Think about that. Think about it and research and find out who I'm talking about. I'm not going to call his name. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He's talking about the interstate. Y'all talking about your livelihood. So, I mean, it's just kind of ignorant thing people do. All us human. And how you think no family feeling now? That young lady up there in Charlottesville, Virginia, her family, what they going through? It's rough. We can't blame it on the president. Although y'all know we got a fool in the White House. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove. Appreciate your comments. Next, Duncan Soror. Mr. Soror, thank you very much for your patience. Thank you for being here. You're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. I just came here to speak about the issue of blight in our community. I heard on the radio, I believe it was Mr. Grant Blankenship from GPB. It was just a really brief story about a company. It was contracted, I believe, Loveland Technologies, based in Detroit. I believe the commission asked them to do a map of the various blight of all the sites of blight in Macon, with very, not just where it's located, but very detailed map. And I read somewhere that I can't remember the name, but a member of the guy from Loveland, he had asked the commission to receive more money so that could go to not only addressing the blight and removing buildings, but maintaining and keeping up communities so where we can avoid and prevent blight in the first place. So whenever that meeting or whenever that committee, whenever that hearing, whatever needs to happen, if you would consider giving more attention, whether it's be with Loveland or any other resources or outlets to help prevent and reverse blight within our community. Because of the nature of my job, I drive around, and yet it's a lot of it. It's pretty substantial, and I think we should all be concerned about that. And secondly, to respond to the first speaker's statement about violence in our community, I just want to say that I myself am a victim of gun violence. I was shot last year on December 22nd. You may have read about it in the paper. I was a pizza delivery driver that was shot down Bloomfield, shot in my left arm, and I just had surgery to have the bullet taken out of my back. But I was pretty lucky. There was no nerve damage or blood vessel damage. So other than a sore arm, I was pretty fortunate. I'm not really too shaken from it, but time will tell how that's affected me. I'm definitely more fortunate than my coworker. She survived, of course, but she was shot December 26th, and she was shot in the head and the neck, and she was in pretty serious condition. Had to have physical therapy and other rehabilitative care. See, I strongly agree with your statement, sir, and I think I agree with everything you said. And nothing. What else matter? How all these various issues that we can bring to either our local, state, or federal government. How can anything else matter if the issues of just the very basic issue, not issue, but just the very basic fact of life and death. If we can't do our best to preserve life in any situation, in among all groups, socioeconomic groups, what else matters? If there's a much higher chance that you're gonna die than is natural, what else matters? So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sorrell. We appreciate your comments. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. Greg Wood. I'm sorry, Webb. Greg Webb. I'm sorry. I looked at it once. I need to look at it twice. Mr. Greg Webb. Excuse me, sir. Welcome. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thanks, sir. Before I get started, is there any way you could go over them numbers again with this meeting here on the taxes and the way you've done them between the city and the county, where the two years you didn't do anything with the city taxes, then you kept the county taxes at the same level?
I'd be glad to talk to you afterward. This is your time to talk to us, sir. So
okay, well, I just wanted some of the people that wasn't here in the 4 o'clock meeting to know what we was talking about with the tax increase, 3% tax increase. And I would have liked to have you read that number to them, but that's fine. I just deal with the situation. First thing I want to talk about is the 3% tax increase. I really think that that's going to be bad. And the reason that I'm saying that is because a lot of people in the 4 o'clock meeting that was talking about taxes, but not a lot of them talked about the mass appraisal that y'all done several years ago, where a lot of the houses that was in the mass appraisal was for more than what the value was, and you took the houses that was supposedly comparable to the other ones. So that was basically another tax increase that we had on the mass appraisals that y'all done. Also, I'd like to talk about the public safety. We've definitely got a problem in Macon, Georgia, and Bibb County. Every day that you turn to one of the news channels, we've got someone on there being shot or killed, and there's no reason for it. Because we know where the high crime areas are, and that's where they should be concentrated in taking care of the people in them areas. Whether it be downtown Macon or it be out in the sleepy little town of Lizella, Georgia. All of us need to be protected by the sheriff's department. No one's wanting to come to the sheriff's department to work because they're not getting paid. Where you look at the counties around us, Houston, where it's getting bad now, which it just trickles down from county to county. But their officers get paid more money in Perry and are trained better. So we need to do something about getting more police officers in Bibb County and let them patrol the areas. But I don't understand the increase on the taxes, and I don't understand the lack of police officers in the county as where it used to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. We appreciate that. The next person that signed up said she really did not wish to speak, but just wanted to get more understanding. That's Ms. Joyce LaCour. Ms. LaCour, are you still here? Ms. LaCour, Joyce LaCour? Yeah, okay. And I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards if you would like. Finally, Suzanne Smith and Brenda Smith are here and want to talk to us about a P&Z matter. Is this Suzanne? Oh, good. How are you, Ms. Smith? Good to see you tonight. You're recognized for 5 minutes, although this isn't the P&Z board.
I know. Well, yesterday afternoon, me and my husband went before the Planning and Zoning Board, and we had tried about 2 months ago. We were told that we have 10 acres out on Houston Road in the county, and we had told that we could put a mobile home out there, a nice mobile home. So we went ahead with the process and we did everything that we could. We followed it to a T from the county, from the P&D, and did everything that we were told to do, paid all the money that we were told to pay to Planning and Zoning. And then yesterday we were told, after closing on Friday, that this was not going to happen. And we've paid everything to Planning and Zoning. Now we're out that $1,000 along with the $10,000 that we've paid also for the closing of the home. And I don't think that was right at all to be treated that way in the county that we pay and we have 10 acres on. So, do what? Well, if we file an appeal, they charge us $600 more to file an appeal. And we've paid everything, and we've done everything, and was told every time we went down there, they had pictures of everything. We were told every time we went that everything was fine and that it would not be denied. It's agriculture land. You can put pigs, hogs, whatever out there, but you can't put a $90,000 mobile home out there. I think that's a problem. And I think that's a problem by the Bibb Planning and Zoning that we paid all that money.
I certainly appreciate your frustration. As I said earlier, this is not the Planning and Zoning Commission,
right,
and we have little, if anything, to say about the Planning and Zoning Commission here. Although certainly I think you have made a legitimate point, and we'll try to make inquiry as to what in the world happened, because that does sound terrible to do all that, go through the whole process and close on the home,
right,
and then be told you can't locate it where you thought you could.
It would devalue the land, and you can't even see it from the road.
Well, Ms. Smith, thank you very much. I appreciate your patience and appreciate you being here. And Commissioner Tillman, who formerly served on the Planning and Zoning Board, may be able to give you some additional information. He said he'd be willing to talk to you. That is all of the people that signed up to talk to us about non-agenda items. That brings us to the end of our agenda. So can I get a motion to adjourn? And without objection, we're adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I know that's right. I told you we were going to be here till I better turn this off.